Welcome to Lacrosse Classified, your go-to source for all things NLL and box lacrosse. We will bring you the biggest names and best storylines in the world every single week. So settle down and listen up. It's time for Lax Class.
What's up, lacrosse fans? Welcome back to Lacrosse Classified. Lax Class 375 is a go. Right here on the Lax Edge Podcast Network. Jake Elliott, Lucas Archer, and a big show lined up. Lucas, before I bring you in, I'm going to tell the people what's coming on the program. It's just what I'm going to do. Nothing you can do about it. Coming up in quarter number 4 is Who You Got Week 10. It is a big one. 7 games on the docket, and this is really kind of when not only the NLL season kind of starts to heat up here at the third pole, but Who You Got starts to crank up here as well. A lot of games every single week kind of from here on out, and they're all going to be meaningful. Week 10, Who You Got coming up, quarter 4, and we'll announce our week 9 winner as well. Quarter 3, as we work backwards, Lax Class Locks of the Week. Should be up on Coolbet as we speak. I haven't checked, but I'll do that. I'm kind of scared to look, just looking at my Coolbet account right now, Lucas. I don't really want to do that, but I'm going to go look for the Lax Class Locks of the Week exclusives. I mean, sooner or later, something good has to happen. It's just halftime is before quarter 3. Quarter 2, we were supposed to have Trey LeClaire of the San Diego Seals. Late snafu with Trey. Had to postpone kind of last second, but that's okay, because we plan to have 2 guests on this episode. So now we just have one, but it's a big one, as we have the executive director, the new man in charge there of Lacrosse Canada, Terry Rayner, will join us in quarter number 2. And we got a lot to talk about with Terry. We got a list of things to talk about with Terry. Not sure we're going to get to it all, but we're going to try. Quarter 2, Terry Rayner, Lacrosse Canada. Quarter number 1, RyCor Standout Players of the Week. Goalie Factory Goalie of the Week. Recap of week number 9 in the National Lacrosse League, and whatever else we can jam in here off the top. Lucas, welcome back. Snowmageddon going on there in Ontario. I know a bunch of people were just buried in the stuff. Hopefully you survived, I think what you called the polar vortex earlier. It's beautiful here in British Columbia. I'll tell you, I could wear shorts and a t-shirt and walk out the door and be just fine right now, but not the case back east. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing a lot less better now that you said you can walk out your door in shorts and a t-shirt. I wish I could do that, but I'm doing well otherwise. It was a good weekend for me. You're right, Snowmageddon. Had to chill out at home with Funky and Vince over the weekend. It was good, though. Caught a lot of sports. Watched it's curling season. Scotty's was on, so you can best believe that Funky was glued to the television watching that. It's actually at the same venue where The Rock played last year, the Paramount Fine Food Center.
I tell you, curling, when I was younger and there was only one TSN channel, like I never used to watch curling, but like when, I don't know, I was like 14, 15 years old, TSN came to be, and it would be curling for 3 straight weeks. Scotty's, then the Brier, then the World Championships. And it was the only thing on TSN for 20 plus days straight. I figured I might as well start to learn this curling game a little bit. So I kind of got into it. And now, like, I really appreciate what these players can do and the strategy and the techniques. And like, I like a good curling match, especially when it comes to the Scotties and the Brier and stuff. I'll sit down and watch 10 ends of curling.
So will I. It's a lot of fun. It's very intuitive what these athletes are able to do, and it's only going to get better when the Olympics come around. You can best believe the sports book is going to be in full action mode down there in my basement. But other than that, it was good. Watched a lot of football. Congratulations to your Seattle Seahawks back
Thank you
in
very
the Super
much.
Bowl.
Oh, man, my heart rate, Lucas. I tell you, watching that game just on pins and needles, just waiting for something bad to happen, and then it did. The unsportsmanlike penalty, the taunting of the bench, an automatic first down on a 4th down, and I thought, this is it. There it is. They just gave it away right there. They're going to lose this game now because some guy, Woolen, couldn't control his emotions and cost his team potentially a berth into the Super Bowl. And somebody put it out online, like, That one play, if they go on to lose that game, like without that, they're winning that game, no doubt. But that gave the Rams a chance in that game. That potentially could have cost the Seahawks $1.5 billion not being in the Super Bowl, just because you couldn't keep your yap shut. So hopefully he learned his lesson. Problem is, though, Lucas, and I'm happy, 11 years it's been since the Hawks were in. They're going to play the Patriots again. We all think about that Marshawn Lynch play down the goal line and what could have been. We're going to get a chance at redemption here. Only problem is no Broncos. So Jenner and Dowick are down in the dumps. The private jet will stay on the tarmac, and we're not going to Santa Clara.
Yeah. I'm disappointed for you in the sense that you do not get to go there, but I will be rooting for the Seahawks. I will, only because I cannot stand the Patriots, not one bit. That's the Bills and me. And they hired their new coach, their new head coach today, Joe Brady. Way to go.
I think Josh hired his new coach is what happened there.
That's a more accurate statement. But enough about football. We watched a lot of lacrosse, and it is time to recap all the games. And we start in the city of brotherly love, Jake. Seals and Wings.
Oh, man, this is good. You know, having the weekend off here, kind of a clear runway. Didn't really have a ton of things I need to accomplish this weekend. So nice little Friday, Saturday, 2 games apiece. Had a chance to digest all of this. And yeah, first of a home and home here, first in Philadelphia. They're going to play again in San Diego this weekend. I think I had San Diego for a 9 in this game, if I recall, and I was worried out of the gates here. It was 4-1. I think it was even 5-1. San Diego's offense just looked invisible. Wrigley kind of held him in there. Damid was playing really well, but then the Seals offense came to life in the second half. I don't know whether maybe Pat Merrill put his glasses on at halftime and got a little mojo going. Remember, he was wearing those in Vancouver. They won that game. Showed up on the bench without the glasses on. I was a little perplexed, but then had him on post-game as well, so I don't know what's going on there. But I feel like there's some power in those glasses for Pat Merrill. Anyways, San Diego goes on and wins this game 9-7, low-scoring goaltending duel, but San Diego's starting to heat up a little bit after a slow start, and Philadelphia just let this one get away.
You want to know who else is starting to heat up? Ben McIntosh. Probably his best game of the season thus far. Had a couple goals, added some assists in there as well.
Home game for Benny Mac, and I think the legs were feeling pretty good there for the veteran, and he was San Diego's best player, at least on offense in that game for sure.
Yeah, he was. I read on NLL Chatter, Grand Pro's latest edition, that 80% of all goals, or maybe more in this game, were scored by Americans. Joe Rez, Brennan O'Neill, Michael Sowers. Seems like so bizarre.
I've been saying this for probably the last 2 or 3 years, man, maybe longer. They're coming. They are coming. And as soon as Team USA gets a bona fide number 1 starting goaltender, Canada better watch out. And I've been saying this for a while, and Philadelphia, like I said when they're in Las Vegas, has really embraced the American-born box lacrosse player to come and try their hand at playing box for the Philadelphia Wings. And some guys have kind of flourished at it. Others have not. But right now, O'Neill, Sowers, like you think about Jake Rambo and what he was able to do, Blaze Reardon, like they got some guys there. And then Joe Rez, who is the all-timer. Like, so Philadelphia, they may be in for a long year here this year, but if they keep stockpiling, the Americans are coming. There's no way to stop it, Lucas. There's just too many bodies, too many people, and the popularity of the sport is growing exponentially. So just by sheer numbers, and the more they learn how to play, the more they learn how to coach properly, they're going to take over eventually, and it's not that far down the road.
I will have to agree with that. I'm not sure that I necessarily want to, because that means
I don't want to either. But that's the way it is. Like,
I know.
Just look at hockey.
Yes.
Right? How big the gap used to be to what the gap is now. They're right there. And the same thing's going to happen in box lacrosse. I mean, Canada has always, I could go on with this forever. Let's get on to Ottawa, where they were hosting the Vancouver Warriors. It was the TSN game of the week. Lackluster, I would call Vancouver's performance against San Diego the previous week, and it sounded like coming into this game, Vancouver was just going to start shooting the ball. Like they didn't want to pass up any opportunities. They felt like they were kind of working a little too hard to get to the top of the crease and, passing up prime shooting opportunities. They weren't going to do that in this game, and the results kind of showed. They jumped on Ottawa here out of the gates, and they were scoring in transition. Del Bianco gets his 100th point, and what was it, 10-2 in this game at one point?
10-3 was the furthest that they got, and I will say I did not have Matt Beers scoring from half on my bingo card in this game. That is something that was a little out of the ordinary. But yes, Vancouver big lead, 10-3 was their largest margin, and my God, did they ever hand it to Ottawa? You would think with the cross country travel, Vancouver might be a little fatigued. No. They came out guns a-blazing, and Del Bianco, he just proved that he is still, in my opinion, the number one goaltender in the league right now, and he just showed Zach Higgins up.
They manage the game kind of, I think, better than it. Like they know when to conserve, when to push, when to force, when to kind of back off. And, maybe they took the foot off the pedal a little too much in the second half, only getting 2 goals. But Ottawa only got 2 goals in that second half as well. And it was about the defense. Like I think they figured, okay, like 10 is probably enough to win this game. It usually is when you got Del Bianco in that defense there. And they did chip in with a couple, but this disappointing for Ottawa coming off a big win in Buffalo. This would have been a statement win here for the Black Bears. And I think last week was. This week had a chance to really kind of double down on that. And the Warriors just were a little bit more motivated, I felt like, than Ottawa is in this game. And just too many passengers offensively for the Black Bears. 12-8 the final in this one. I mean, Adler was better in the faceoff dot this one as well. He got to 50%. The Warriors' power play has been just on fire since the start of the season. I mean, most nights they are going 3 for 4, 4 for 5, 5 for 6. They're smoking it on the PP right now for the Warriors.
Do not take penalties against Vancouver. They will make you pay.
Let's go. Well, that was Friday. On to Saturday we go here. Georgia and Toronto. Toronto back at home. Troy Holochuk in the start. Nick Rose on the IR. They went out and acquired Steve Orleman. This was just a good game. I mean, top to bottom, start to finish, back and forth. 2 really good teams, I think, just kind of punching away at each other here, and it goes to the bonus frame. And Lyle Thompson, who is coming off a 10-point night in Calgary there at the Unbox game, gets the overtime winner. And just kind of watching Lyle, he's moving around way, way better than he was at the start of the season. I don't know if he's back to 100 yet, but he's moving around a lot better. The mailman delivers number 700. But Toronto comes up a goal short here. Nothing to hang your head about, but overtime can always go either way. Like it is a coin flip when it gets to overtime, and Georgia finds the way to get the ball to the back of the net.
Holochuk didn't look bad for the Rock. Maybe there was one goal that he might be looking at himself and thinking, yeah, I should have had that one, or I'd love to have that shot back. But he looked good. Defense on both sides stepped up. Low scoring affair, as you said, Jake, 10-9. Transition game. Toronto. They love to use it a lot. Sam English, Phil Mazuka.
He didn't finish the game, I think. English, I don't think he finished the game, which is a little bit concerning for Toronto for sure. He's been their best transition guy. You know who else looked pretty good in that game?
Please say Ed Como, because he looked pretty good.
Well, he did. Eddie always looks good. But CJ Kirst, he looked pretty good. 3 goals for CJ. I don't know, what's he on pace for now, Lucas?
I think it's 48, 49 goals. I don't think it's 50 yet, but
I'll tell you what, it's also not is 27 or 28 or whatever you said.
Yeah, we don't need to revisit that.
Well, no, we are going to revisit it because 3 goals here, and I said he's getting 40. You said he's not getting any more than 28, and he's on pace for 48 right now. You want to just take that back now, or you want to ride that out till it actually happens?
I think I have to write it out. I said it. I think I have to stick with it, Jake. It's not that I don't think CJ can do it. It's just that the goalies he is facing, the gauntlet, I put it in our chat, the gauntlet that he has coming up, it's pretty tough to score a lot on them. And
he just got three on the best goalie in the league right now.
You think Dobson is the best goalie in the league
right now?
Look
at his numbers.
All right. That is something that I do not agree with right now.
He is on historic pace right now with Brett Dobson's numbers.
Dobson is great. I'm not denying that, but I still don't think that he's better than Matt Vince or Christian Delbianco.
I mean, if you're getting 3 on Dobson, I don't see any reason why he's going to slow down against those other 2. That's all I'm saying. We can't slow down this podcast. We're going to Colorado, and I don't know if you can slow down the Mammoth right now. What are they? 4-0 since Jack Hanna entered their lineup, and man, how good would this team look with Ryan Lee right now? Like, it's a little bit scary to think. He's not there. They're still hanging 15 on Jameson and the Firewolves here, who dropped to 2-6. And that prompted a coaching change in Oshawa as Daryl Gibson relieved of his duties just a day or two ago here, Lucas. And I know with all the snow, you guys weren't in the office here, but it's a tough day for Daryl. It's a tough day for Glenn Clark. Tough day for the Firewolves as they had to say, well, I didn't have to, but they did. They said goodbye to Daryl Gibson.
They did. Gibby's been with the team for a while, did some great things for them, obviously helping out the defense, but time to move on. Not sure if the team has named a replacement, if they do.
I talked to Coach Clark today as they're making their way down to Vegas along with me. So I had a little coach's call with Clarky today, and he informed our broadcast team, that Mike McKay was going to be promoted from video coach to defensive coordinator and video coach for the Firewolves. So they're promoting within, and Mike McKay is going to be the new guy.
That's a good choice. Not to say that Gibby wasn't a good D coach, but McKay definitely has his own vision. He's a great guy. He's also got a very humorous side to him, which I didn't know that about Mike ahead of this season. But you're right, office was closed, had a staff meeting today. Vibes were a little different after the Gibson news came out yesterday. We all got the email blast, but business as usual. Office staff is looking ahead, so is the team themselves, and they are looking to get back in the win column as they have Vegas coming up. But yeah, just another loss down there to Colorado. Dylan Ward, I think, just outplayed Jameson. They Firewolves let it slip away from them a little bit in the second quarter. Offense wasn't really there in the third.
Yeah, I mean, it was 8-7 at halftime, right? Like, this was anybody's game at halftime, and then Colorado.
But it was but it was a goal of runs. Like, towards the end of the first quarter, Colorado scored 3 or 4 straight, and without a whistle, without a timeout, like without a media break, they just kept going and going, and Oshawa didn't really have an answer. So they need to find some if they want to start to turn the ship around quickly. 15-11 is the final, and
yeah, I mean, the other thing we didn't really get a chance to talk about last week, because it kind of happened right after we were finished recording, is they went out and acquired Dawson Theed and Emerson Clark, which was a little bit funny because of the prior week against Halifax and everything that went down at the end of that game, and it involved Dawson Theed. He was a main cog in all of it, and then they go, the post-game comments, this is ridiculous, this is unnecessary, and then literally trade for the guy at the center of it all in Dawson Theed. Couldn't get a name bar on the back of the jersey in time. Apparently, I gave Wiz a bit of the gears today on that. I said, expect to see a name bar on the back of Dawson's jersey this weekend, Steve. We'll see if it comes to fruition or not, but Oshawa, I addressed it. I asked him about it and said, the optics of it looked a little weird to me, right? To have all these kind of comments, and he did let me know the conversation with Accursi on the turf was actually a friendly one and a positive one. It was nothing to kind of do with what happened at the end of the game. What he did say, though, is that wasn't the first time that had kind of happened against Halifax, and that his offense is on the younger side, maybe the youngest in the league. and, maybe on a bit on the smaller side aside from Dyson. And he was kind of sick of it, right? He wasn't going to let his guys get punched in the face and shoved into the boards and not have a response now. And, it's not that Dawson needs to go out and fight every single game, but just having his presence out on the floor and that kind of threat that it could happen can make everybody play a little bit taller, and I think keep the team on the other side a little more accountable as well. So they give up a first rounder to get him, but there's really no other player in the league like Dawson Theet.
It's not just his size and stature and the toughness that he brings, it's the intangibles. And I know we talk about it a lot about...
And he can score.
That too. Yes, as he's one goal away from 100 in his career, but it's the mindset that Dawson plays with.
Yeah, I don't expect to see Emerson Clark in the lineup this weekend, but I mean, we all know what Emerson is capable of as well. So Oshawa just got a whole lot tougher. Now they got to find a way to turn that toughness into wins. There is week 9 of the National Lacrosse League, just 4 games. That's going to change this weekend, but we still have more to discuss here in quarter number 1. Our Goalie Factory Goalie of the Week is next.
Big save, Giuliano. Rebound call, Crime Stoppers.
Vince just scored a goalie goal.
Jameson somehow comes up with the stop. Larceny.
And here's Shane Jackson off the bench. And there's Christian Del Bianco with a stick side save.
Well, fitting that maybe that soundbite ends off with that call right there from yours truly, as I didn't make the call this past weekend. That was Matty Cullen and Pat Gregoire. Ashley Docking, the big dog, was there as well. Not only does Christian kind of get the win, he shuts down the Firewolves for 1 goal in the second half, but also picks up that elusive 100th point, which kind of sounds like he doesn't really give a shit about, quite frankly. But a large portion of them have gone to Shane Simpson. He's the guy that scores the goal. A large other of that portion goes to Zach Currier, no longer a member of the Roughneck. I did find surprising, though, that out of Christian's 100 assists and all that time playing with Dane Doby during that time, and you think about all the goals that Doby scored flying off the Roughneck bench, and I think I correct me if I'm wrong here, I think I saw 3 of his 100 assists are to Dane Doby.
Wow. That's shocking, actually.
That's unbelievable almost.
That's ridiculous. Only 3 to 44? Wow.
So there you go. Christian Del Bianco is this week's Goalie Factory Goalie of the Week. Welcome to the factory, Christian. He does a lot of renovations and construction, so I'm sure he would be just fine putting in a shift at the factory. You should be as well. You can get coached up by the folks at the Goalie Factory, Caleb and Marcus Kahn, Riley Brown, Boris Matsumenko out there as well, along with Curtis Armstrong, who's going to put you through the paces training-wise at the Goalie Factory. At Goalie Factory _ is where you want to go. Whether you're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you name it, they're there at Goalie Factory _ Click their link bio, and you can get signed up for in-person. You can get signed up for Zoom training. You can get signed up for a fitness program. Get better at playing goal. That's the bottom line. Become factory built at the Goalie Factory. And as you know, Lucas, we go straight from the factory straight to the construction site for RyCor Standout Players of the Week.
I'm a hard-working man.
RyCor Construction Standout Players of the Week are brought to you by RyCor Construction. They make it stand out over there. That's their slogan, and there's a reason for that. Is because that's exactly what they do, whether it be an interior or exterior renovation. It can be additions, flooring, finishing, whole backyard transformations. They do it all. They make it stand out. They have 20 years of experience in the construction industry. That's a long time. 2 decades. and they bring the quality craftsmanship, exceptional client experience. They do it all over there at RyCor Construction, but most of all, they make it stand out.
Heading back to Denver as they played the Colorado Mammoth, and I'm going with two players who have the same first name, but I got to go with an honorable mention for Owen Down. I think it was either a late first or early second round pick to the Mammoth a couple years ago. He's just been playing really good lacrosse lately, scored an empty netter for the Mammoth, but he's just been really elevating his game lately. I really enjoy watching him, and I work with him on a weekly basis, so it's always fun to see him and catch up. But the other Owen that stood out for me was Orangeville's finest. Now, this I fact-checked, Jake. He's from Orangeville. Rob Hellier is not, so this guy's a true born-and-raised Orangeville guy. Owen Ron, hat trick, first career hat trick for Mr. Ron, and he was all over the place for Colorado. Offense, defense, ball team. He is truly playing the Northman way, and I think that's why Pat Coyle likes him a lot down there in a Mammoth jersey.
Yeah, I mean, and there you go, right? Like maybe Rayner is playing out the back end if Ryan Lee is there. Maybe Dylan McIntosh is out. I don't know, but the opportunity for Owen Ron to play up front for the Mammoth this year, for the rest of the year anyway, I think is going to be there. And he kind of really grabbed it. He's a slick player. Like he just kind of knows the good spots to be on the floor. He's got great hands. He can finish the ball, and I don't think he's too concerned about packing it around in his stick either, which. A lot of guys kind of are, and he's not one of them, and you need that type of player in your offense. So I think they got a good one there in Owen Ron. He's kind of just getting started too. Still a pretty young kid, but I do think
very young and also slick. That's not a word you hear much about lacrosse players, but I do enjoy it. Slick.
You got to, I think we got to get away from these honorable mentions. Because I feel like every week we're giving an honorable mention to somebody. Like both of us have been doing that. This is about shining the spotlight on one particular guy here, and I think we just need to dial back on the honorable mentions a little bit. So I'm not going to give one this week, but I am going to give my RyCor standout player of the week. And I was going to give it to a Mammoth player, but I'm not going to do that now that you just did. So I'll go to Georgia in that overtime win. It's going to number 48. In Michael Grace, who had, what do you have here? 8 loose balls, 3 caused turnovers, shot on goal there as well. I think right now he's sitting like second or third in caused turnovers as a rookie. And this Georgia defense, along with Brett Dobson, who has the best goalie stats in the league right now, he's right in the thick of it for rookie of the year as far as I'm concerned, and they got themselves a good one in Michael Grace. So that's who I'm going to give my RyCor standout player of the week to.
I just went, and per NL stats, Grace is probably number 1 in caused turnovers for rookies. He's number 2 in caused turnovers in the league.
Yeah.
In the league. So he's probably number 1 for rookies, number 2 in the league, and you're right. Georgia has a stud in Grace on the back end.
There you go. Welcome to the construction site in Owen Ron and Michael Grace here, this week's RyCor standout players of the week. Just getting started here on episode 375. Quarter 2 is next. We're joined by the executive director of Lacrosse Canada, Terry Rayner, right here on the Lax Edge Podcast Network.
This is Rob Hellier, and you're listening to Lax Class.
Welcome back to Lacrosse Classified. We are into the second quarter of the program here on EP 375, and it's brought to you, the second quarter that is brought to you by Edge Dynamics, passionate about supporting communities and driving growth. They're based out of Alberta, and they partner with nonprofits and small businesses to deliver sharp marketing strategies that make an impact. They also understand the challenges of limited resources and are there to help you succeed. Whether it's growing the fastest game on 2 feet or strengthening your organization, they're with you every step of the way. And you can get started by visiting edgedynamics.ca. Sharpen your brand on a global level. At Edge Dynamics Digital, I would say this brand here of Lacrosse Canada has been sharpening their brand on a global level, not only on the playing field, but through some other avenues as well. And We're going to welcome the executive director of Lacrosse Canada, which used to be called what? Why the change from
Thanks for having me.
CLA? Am I right
There you
on
go.
that? CLA. I got it finally.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on the program. Really appreciate it. It's yeah, the CLA actually small story. That was the great Dave Huntley. He loved the logo. So I'm sure if he was still around, he would be sad to see it go. I think just during COVID, actually, before my time here, it was an opportunity to rebrand. They kind of looked at let's rebrand, let's do some new images and everything else, and hence now we are Lacrosse Canada, which kind of falls in line with the other sport national sport
Yeah,
organization.
Hockey Canada. Yeah. I got you. I mean, we got so many things to discuss here with you, Terry, and I'm not exactly sure where to begin. And usually, when I have a new guest on the program, I like to find out how the sport of lacrosse found you, or you found the sport of lacrosse. How'd you get involved with the game?
Yeah, actually, it's a great story. I was in the early '90s, and I'm going to date myself here. I was playing some junior B hockey in the lovely town of Thorold, Ontario, and I was attending Brock University. And at that time, there was a gentleman named Mike Pilon that was playing hockey with me there, but I was also playing the university team. And said, "Why don't you come try out for the university lacrosse team?" And I said, "Well, I've never played lacrosse." And he said, "Doesn't matter. You're athletic. Why don't you come try it out?" So I attended the tryouts, and we had some great coaches back then. We had Marty Cooper, that was a former coach of the Buffalo Bandits, and one of the Talevi brothers, the oldest one, James, was a coach there. And I came tried out, loved it, made the team. A whopping 2 shifts my first season at Brock University, and then decided that I needed to play this a little bit more. And next year came back, starting role as a long pole, and then my final year had an amazing opportunity to be a co-captain with Sean Williams, the great Sean Williams, and now which really ties into later years that everybody kind of joked. We were the Brock Vegas team in Las Vegas, so it's
Brock Vegas. I like it.
yeah.
And
So
then
it
and
was
then what about Lacrosse Canada after that? Like how did that come to be? I know you're in the police field by trade. I don't know exactly what role you play in the police department, but that's kind of your background. But how did the transition to Lacrosse Canada come to be?
Yeah, that actually really started all the way, but like the transition kind of came out of Brock, finishing Brock and doing athletic therapy. The great Johnny Meridian was the first GM in Toronto. I finished school and obviously was not at the caliber that I could be playing pro in Toronto. And Johnny offered me an opportunity to actually go on with the Toronto Rock, and I did 14 seasons with Toronto. So, as a police officer, working 4 days on, 4 days off, really kind of started that with the Toronto Rock in '99 and had a great opportunity in 2002 to represent Canada for the first time in Australia. And, once again, with the likes of Sean Williams and the Eddie Comos and Dave Huntleys of the world. So that was my first introduction to the national team in '02, and didn't have the opportunity to do 2006 because I got married that year to an awesome lacrosse lady who has played 5 worlds for Canada, and she's 2-0 in the Hall of Fame. So she reminds me all the time. But then it just kind of grew. 2010 went to Manchester and then started doing the women's teams in 2011, 2013 as a GM. And then the opportunity kind of came coming out of COVID, where they had the national team coordinator position that became a full-time position. And that was kind of where I looked at policing. Do I want to stay here? Couldn't see myself staying another 15 years to the age of 61 and doing policing. So the gate opened and we took that opportunity, and I became part of the national team full-time and basically the behind the scenes coordinating and doing everything that I'd done before as a volunteer.
You then eventually became the executive director, Terry, and talk about the transition from being the national team coordinator coming out of COVID to the position that you're in now with at the helm of Lacrosse Canada.
And I kind of want to know how that process works too, Terry. Is that something you get voted in for? Is that something you apply for? Is that something somebody recommends you for? How does that process work to become into the position that you're in?
Yeah, so it's there was an application process that went out. At the time, the previous ED was retiring, so there was a call for executive director position. I had to go through the same interviewing process as everybody else, and don't want to put myself in the same category as the new coach of the Buffalo Bills, but it was there was lots of applicants that were out there for an awesome organization, and I was lucky enough to be selected by the board for that position. And the board does select their executive director. They voted, and that's I was selected to be the next candidate. And it's been an interesting 2 years and quite the learning curve, let me tell you.
Is it a two, like how long does the contract, like you have to go up for re-election at a certain point, or is this open-ended?
No, it's essentially open-ended. I mean, just based on governance rules, I guess at any time if the board decides that they no longer want me as the executive director, they can move on from the executive director.
Well, we
Hopefully,
hope that doesn't happen. We hope that doesn't happen, Terry. And like I said, we have a long list of things to get in here with you. And I don't know if I've listed them down in priority or not, but I mean, Lucas and I were kind of talking about earlier in the program about Team USA, and Lucas used the word dominance as far as field lacrosse goes with Team USA. I stopped him right in his tracks, by the way, and said, "Excuse me, but let's look to the U20s here. Just months ago, their very first win over Team USA at that level, Terry. And I've had the honor and the pleasure to to announce the '08 and 2016 U19s. And man, 2016, absolute heartbreak. Like, what'd they have? Like a 10-2 lead at halftime, let that thing slip away in the dying seconds. So, pretty incredible stuff to watch Grayson Manning and the rest of the boys kind of get the job done in really dramatic fashion over there in Asia, man. That was really cool to watch.
that whole team presented challenges from the beginning. Obviously, a lot of conversation around it because that World Championship was sitting right over top the exact same time as Edmonton Cup, and athletes were put in a really tough position to kind of make those decisions, and we left those decisions to the athletes. We no pressure. Basically, kind of asked them like, we understand, and as you guys would know, there was a couple athletes decided that they wanted to make that run for the Minto Cup, and there was nothing to hold them back to say no, no, like it's your decision. We respect your decision, and kind of looking at that group, it was really interesting to be part of and be around it because it was very much a blue collar group. And
And Grayson was one of those guys too, Terry, that could have stayed with Victoria and maybe had a shot to go to the Minto Cup, but he chose to put on the red and white.
and man, did he put on a show. You know what I mean? Like it's just and he really honestly like the whole group and Grayson like leading by that, like just the leadership group of the athletes themselves, as you kind of see throughout the week and the tournament, just grow as individuals. Like there was no outcasts. And I mean, we've all been part of a lot of teams, and there might be the one or two. This team was so tight right from the start, and they did everything together. They're out doing stuff together, and you could just see it growing and growing. And round robin, we were close. And it's when you've got the great masters of coaches that we had there at that event, like it was epic. And there's a lot of things that people don't realize too. And Dan Carey obviously going through all the stuff that he was going with the rebuild of Rochester and the switch of ownership. Dan was unable to attend that event. The unfortunate part for Randy Mertens is being let go from his position at the university. He was an immediate call and said, like, Randy, like, Mertens, do you want to be part of this? And when you get a guy, like, no hesitation, like, I'm in.
We're talking Asia here. It's not like you're going to Boston or something. Like this is a long trip.
Like, yeah, Toronto to Japan for like 3 days of some practices, exhibition games against Japan, Australia, then on a flight to Seoul, then Seoul to small South Korea, Jeju Island. I've been around, the 2014 in Denver. This was just something special. Like it was unbelievable. It's very memorable. Like it's tell you a story.
History.
Like it's what I mean. Like you look back at the '78 men's national team and going to England and that's the first time. Like it's they broke every possible barrier down in lacrosse and field lacrosse. And you think about the numbers of people that play field lacrosse in the U.S. compared to Canada, and we knocked off the juggernaut, and we stand on top of that podium.
Two-parter question for you, Terry. You talked about leadership with the players, but did it come from the players on the field, or was it something that the coaching staff had that you had for the team headed by the legendary Gary Gate? That's the first part. And the second is, in your mind, when did you know you were going to win that game?
You know what? First part, like leaders are, there's born leadership and just recognized leadership. And, those that lead present themselves in different ways. And, the three leaders that we had on that team were just outstanding. And it wasn't ego based, anything else. It was more making sure that cohesiveness and people were always included. And it wasn't, nobody ever had to be called out. It was more of like camaraderie and how would we build that from the athletes. And I think really like it's just the opportunity that those guys saw how the coaching staff interacted with each other. Like you think of those personalities that were on that team. Legendary Gary Gate, legendary John Grant Jr., Mark Mayashita, Wilkie, John Gallant, like all outstanding guys, but also humble, right? Like
Yeah, maybe not Junior, Terry, but other than that.
yeah. You know what? Jumbo, I'll tell you what, like
I'm just kidding.
yeah, but you know what? Like Junior's turn, he's flipped that switch. I have never seen such a shift in somebody that wants it and is put in all the extra legwork.
I mean, he's about as proud of a Canadian as you're going to find. Like, I mean, when he gets to put on the maple leaf, that is when his true character shines through.
Yeah, like he really has like the way he now preps, and this goes all the way back to Alabama and the World Games there. That's the first dose that I really saw the light switch go on for Junior from a coaching perspective, and just how well prepared he is, and it's unbelievable. So part one, Lucas, you'll have to excuse me, we kind of missed on the part two there, but yeah, it was like just everybody was included, right? And I think just you have the role models, they set the example, and it wasn't something that had to be presented or talked about. It was just assumed, like it just.
I'll answer part two for you. You didn't know you were going to win that game until that final kick stop by Grayson Manning at the buzzer. That's when you knew you won.
Well, I'll tell you what. So what were we up by 3 with probably about 2 minutes left?
Yeah.
And I was standing beside Randy Mearns. Randy, you know what? GM still up there videoing the game. And we started to make the walk down the cement stairs. And all of a sudden it was like 1 goal, 2 goals. And Mearns and I are like, what is going on? We're like
win a face off.
Yeah, like just one stop here, fellas. And then you know what? Like you couldn't have asked for a better save. The kid was on fire. And it deserved everything he got.
Well, I mean, that was kind of, a great way to finish off the year as far as that goes. And now, we're turning our attention here to LA 28, Terry, and a lot of things are going to happen from now until then, including some pretty significant qualifiers. I think I saw the Pan Am one going down in Jamaica. I'm available, just in case you're wondering there. And then we got Oshawa coming up, also available for that, Terry. But qualifiers, World Championships, LA 28, like you think about how long ago it was announced and how far we've come since then and how far away it is. Like you think, it's going to be here before you know it. And a lot of things need to kind of fall in place for success to happen at that level. So kind of walk me through the timeline of, maybe like from right now until we get to LA and how that's going to work for Team Canada and Lacrosse Canada. Like a lot of things need to happen as far as the qualifiers and all that go, but also on top of that, like there's funding and sponsorships and all these things that kind of need to fall in place for a successful Olympic bid.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like it's, it's a lot of the pieces that people don't see. People just see the forefront, but our high performance director, Wendy Dobbin, she's a gift for us. Like the amount of stuff that she has to do behind the scenes and applications for on the podium and to get funding, all that process that has to go in making sure coaches are qualified, how they're selected, player selection, like that all started 2 years ago. So that's build up. So when you say like it's going to be here, like we said this 2 years ago, and we're still working through. We had like anti-doping was through the office today, and prepping yourselves for those kinds of things. So we we kind of started that road from an athlete perspective. That started back with the World Games in Alabama, right? The first exposure that everybody kind of had to the sixes game. That was the predecessor to get us essentially to showcase us to get into the Olympics because men were not even part of the World Games at that time, but they snuck the men in for the World Games so they could get that in front of the people from the IOC. So it's been a long process, and as you go through that process, you get some really great partnerships, like with On the Podium now being part of the Canadian Olympic Committee, and what experience in a team of in a group to work with to bring you to the next level and get your coaches to that next level, and kind of preemptively, like we have two coaches that are going to be going to Milan Cortina in a couple weeks to feel that experience and get that experience because we've never had it before. And that's all because of the Canadian Olympic Committee in that preparation. And they've had to do courses and the rest of it. So that's the behind the scenes stuff that starts with the process. And now we've been part of the Atlas Cup, which is from the US. We've run our own sixes events here in Canada, international, and we have athlete pools roughly around 40 that for both the men's and women's side that those athletes sit in there. And last year the men got to compete.
Was that just like a bit of a tester event to see the logistics and everything that you need to kind of cross off for these qualifiers that are going to kind of happen for real? Like this, not that that wasn't competitive and entertaining and all the rest of it, but this is like legit stuff now. Was that kind of a dry run for what you're about to roll out come late September, October?
I believe that was our fourth. We had run it two other times in Oshawa, much smaller scale, and then they had run one out in BC the year before. But yeah, this was a true test. We had, I think, 18 teams. I think it was 10 men's teams, 8 women's teams in the last one here. So that was a bit of a test to see if we could do it. We put our bid in to host the qualifiers, and we were lucky enough to win that bid. And I think it was from the show that we put on here. We're excited. There's going to be, potentially could be up to 26 teams that are going to come to Canada to showcase this. It's going to be streamed on World Lacrosse TV. It's going to give that opportunity for everybody across the world to see it. And you're bringing in the top 3 countries and territories in the world. They're going to be facing off in this round robin series to then build that next qualifier that goes to the World Championships next year.
Sorry, Lucas. Can you break down how that is going to work as far as qualifying for the World Championships? Like what is going to come out of these qualifiers to let teams make their way to the Worlds?
Yeah, and don't misquote me on this, but I believe fact-wise, I believe it's 5 teams that will come out of this PALA qualifier that will go to the World Championships in 2027. And then once out of those, the top teams that come out of the World Championships will then be selected for the Olympics coming out of there. We still don't know where 2027 is, but if I was to speculate, the Olympics being held in 28 in USA, maybe possibly the US, not to put any pressure on them to host, but I'm sure soon enough that we'll probably find out where 27 is, but it's going to be exciting. Last year we had to move a little bit inside to the Oshawa event because of some repairs to the stadium, but we're going to have the stadium open this year. The new turf will be down and the fields will be down, and we're looking to host.
How's the broadcast booth look, Terry? That's the main
Well,
thing.
you know what, Jumbo, there's going to be lots of room because and you know this about me, I'm a strong advocate for the women. Like we're going to have to bring in some female broadcasters here to support the female side and the male side. And, I think we looked at it. There's going to be 40-ish kind of games to go on. So it's got lots of room for some of our world-class broadcasters.
Okay, good to hear. I mean, while we're on the topic of women, to talk about this because this is an exciting development within Lacrosse Canada. We are going to have for the very first time a U22 female national championship. Man Cup, Minto Cup, Founders Cup, President's Cup, what are we calling this? We got to have a good name for it, but it's U22 Women. And tell us everything that you can about this event, maybe where it's going to be held this summer, what's going to be involved, and all that sort of stuff. This is, I think, so exciting, long overdue, if I do say so myself. And I'm really fired up to watch the girls get after it on national stage.
Yeah, it's we're really excited. We just for clarity, there always has been a U22 Women's Championship. The unfortunate part is it's always been connected to the minor nationals. And this is the opportunity to give the women the recognition that they just so deserve. And this will be a standalone event. So they're not connected to anybody else. This is an event for them. Looking at the event, everything else was designed by women, all women that were part of the committee that put it together. Can't give you a date yet because it's not till Friday to the bids. Sorry, I can give you the date, but actually can't give you the location because the bids won't be until completed till Friday, and then that group will be selecting.
What are we gonna
It's
call it,
exciting.
Terry? Michelle Boyer Cup. We got Cheryl and Billy Cup. What are we gonna call this thing?
It already is named, and it is the Carol Patterson Cup.
Okay,
So
I like
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Patterson Cup.
it's it's you brought up Michelle Boyer. Michelle Boyer is instrumental. She is the commissioner that oversees that age group this year. As part of that kind of retransformation for us with bringing in national commissioners and OICs. So we're legendary lacrosse player, and what better to have somebody in your corner and leading the way and leading the
I
charge
can
for the
make
women.
it the Dana Dobie MVP.
Yeah, Dana is a classic, but there is a lot of women that were trailblazers before her and laid down the path for the women to play this. So, we saw the success of the women's world box, and I have a daughter at U17 that plays box and Whippy, and shameless plug, they've won two provincial championships themselves, but it really is like it's the growth of the female side and the box lacrosse. It's an opportunity for them to be aggressive and hit and whether because they can't do that in hockey. It's
Ah,
you know,
Terry, they love it, man. Like I watched the women's
oh
field game and I kind of just like scratch my head. Like, what are we doing here? Like the girls love the contact.
yeah, and if you've watched the women at the international level, there's a lot more give to the rules and contact. So, of all watching all the years of my wife and then her teammates go to the final banquet, and you can tell who are the offensive player and if they're lefty or righty because they show up in a fancy dress and they're covered from elbow to shoulder and bruises from the cross checks that they've been taking in field lacrosse. So yeah, it's just a different level. They're amazing athletes, and to watch that, it's phenomenal. So we're really excited for them.
Something else that I assume that you'd be excited for. I know myself personally, I am as an official, Terry, but new rule book. I know it's been talked about over the past couple of years. Is it going to change for box lacrosse? Turns out the answer is yes. So lay out the whole process. When did the talks begin? Who did you bring in? How were they brought into the announcement? And then the webinar that was recently held this past Sunday night that the OICs were in attendance for. So give us the whole timeline as to how the new box lacrosse rule book came into play.
Yeah, so I guess really and kind of have an understanding of this is until kind of this office changed in the last 2 years, we were very much an operational board, right? So we relied a lot on volunteers in the past, and as that transition has kind of happened, this has kind of been in the making for the last 8 years, waiting for this rule book, and it's was really tough. But now that we have a great technical team and Rachel McKinnon and Dustin Dunn, and they've done a lot of work on the backside, and this is where the country's going to start to see what Lacrosse Canada is doing for them. So they basically started the process probably early October, kind of developing their committee. Committee was put together of representatives from across the country, officials, coaches, players, national team coaches, to sit down and review the rule book. What people probably don't know too much with regards to rule books is we follow every World Lacrosse rule book other than right now box lacrosse. So I know there's going to be, right? I know there's going to be the traditionalists that are going to be like, well, why are you doing this? Why did this change? What, right? Like internationally. But there's some really key changes that are they're happening. You guys have been around the game, and Lucas, as an official, you probably understood, like, you went from U17, and if you went all the way to senior A, there was different rules everywhere. That whole process now, a U17 player could get called up to junior A, junior B, junior C, U17. They were all different rules. Well, kind of moving forward, like, those are all those same rules. Like, even to making the U17s move to the 4x6 nets.
Can I ask
So,
you this, Terry?
yep.
Like, first and foremost, like 8 years in the making seems crazy to me. Like, why something would take 8 years to come to fruition, for one. So that I'm gonna be honest, that's a little concerning. That's the amount of time. But what? And like you also mentioned, and like I go off on this a lot, just so you know, like it gets me fired up, quite frankly, that we have different rule books for minor and senior, which I think in some regard is necessary. Like, I don't think you can have the exact same rules for minor lacrosse that you do for senior lacrosse. But then to take it a step further, it's different in BC than it is in Ontario. It's different in junior than it is in senior. It's different in the NLL than it is from Canadian summer lacrosse. It's different than it is in world lacrosse. So imagine being a new fan to this sport and trying to figure all of that out when you walk into an arena or whatever, or watch it on TV, and try and figure out what's happening. But then, to Lucas's point, as an official, trying to keep 6 different rule books straight. To me as a broadcaster, to coaches, to everybody, I think, my personal opinion, the National Lacrosse League rule book is the best rule book we have for box lacrosse in this current day and time. Why is all of lacrosse not just adopting this rule book and getting all on the same page with this, including, like, and I'll take it a step further, and the traditionalists are not going to like to hear it. And I know, trust me, like, I'm all about the history and the respect of the indigenous peoples and everything. But I think one of the biggest hurdles that in particular young goalies need to try and overcome is going from junior with a smaller net, a huge wooden lacrosse stick between their legs, to getting drafted into the National Lacrosse League and having the likes of the best shooters on the planet all of a sudden picking corners on a bigger net with a tiny stick between their legs. We need to get on the same page here, Terry, and, like, unify this thing for everybody's sake. And I think this latest rollout from Lacrosse Canada is much closer than it was. But why not just dive in and go headlong and just unify this whole thing up and clear it up for everybody?
Yeah, it's a very valid question, and I would say that we are now in a position where, to understand the sport structure, right? We're the national sport organization. Provinces are the provincial sport organizations, and I think traditionally what had happened was there was modifications that would happen in provinces, and they felt like they could change their own rules. And then we get to those minor national championships, and when I sat in that position, they'd be like, how come they call the game this way? How come they're not calling this? And it's like,
yeah, just for an example, right? Like, for a Man Cup, the WLA will play under a certain set of rules, whether, and just to take an example, like, you don't get kicked out if you fight in the WLA after a fight. MSL, I'm not even sure if you do or you don't. But then you get to the Man Cup, and all of a sudden, a team from Ontario that was playing under major series rules all summer long, a team from the West in the WLA playing under their rules all summer long, get to the Man Cup, and oh, no matter, they're playing under Lacrosse Canada rules now, which, maybe a few minor nuances, but still, like, that's an adjustment that both those teams and the fans and everybody else needs to wrap their head around going into a major national championship.
yeah, and this is the whole principle behind this, Jumbo, is that every province is going to operate under this rule book, and there's no modifications.
They don't have a choice. There's no choice in this. Like, this is letter of the law. You have to do it.
Yes.
Love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So it's, you don't, Hockey Canada, you don't get to modify the rule book and then the OMHA and make changes to theirs and the decisions. This is one rule book. There's no modifications. There's no changes. So, it's going to be exciting times. Like, it's, this is meant to bring that little bit of a show back to the game too. And, give you a couple pieces here. Like, U11, I believe it's U11 and above, there's crease dives allowed.
So I want to push back on this a little bit. Sorry, Lucas, and I'm going to probably hog the conversation here, quite frankly, because I got a lot of things going through my mind. But a lot of people, like some people, have brought up concerns about crease diving at U11 and U13 levels. And I want to hear your take on this, Terry. Like, when you're an adult and you're playing in the National Lacrosse League, you can control your body pretty well, and you're landing on turf, and you're probably finding a way to avoid the goaltender at most. I'm not sure that that's happening at U11 and U13, and maybe it's not coming in there with the kind of force that these professionals are. But I think there is some concern to be had about U11 and U13 kids diving on concrete into a crease, maybe not fully in control of their body. Where do you come out on this?
Yeah, and I think the part of that is this year is an evaluation standpoint too, right? So is to look at and how these changes affect. Not to say by the time we come back at the end of the year and there's evidence that comes back and says, you know what, there's too many kids that were getting hurt, too many kids that were getting injured, so we do have to modify it moving forward. So make those changes, and that's part of looking at long-term athlete development. And is that those changes that have been made is this isn't a one and done, and we're just going to make this change and we're never coming back to it.
It's an open book a little bit, right? You're open to interpretation, you're open to change, you're open to recommendation. Like, this is a trial run for what you're rolling out right now.
Yeah, and it's one of to go back to kind of my policing days here, Jumbo, is that everything needs to be evidence-based, right? Lacrosse is the hypothetical, the anecdotal, and it's like there's no evidence behind it. And this is where I've kind of asked this group when they went through this is you need to provide evidence, because people are gonna bring things forward, and they're gonna say, well, why are we doing this? Why aren't we doing this? And you need to have items to support it. And this is where we'll get through this process and the playbook that they're running all year long here from the technical team is they're going to take the input. They're going to take those suggestions. And when they get to the end of the year is revisit and have a look at it. So they can look and say, maybe, you know what, maybe does have to be U15 and that needs to be moved. So they make the adjustment for the next year. So it is a bit of a rotation. It's brought forward, but it's communicating those changes as well. And I thought they did a pretty good job on Sunday night there. Lucas, you were part of it. There was over 500 people that were on it, whether it was OICs, commissioners, coaches, players, EDs. Like it was pretty well done.
I think a big factor to that is the different perspectives that were brought to the table, and it was very well done. You brought up a while ago in one of your answers, but it put me on a new thought, Terry, of Dustin Dunn and Rachel McKinnon in their technical roles for LC. Talk to me a little bit about this. You had the National Development Team program in place, and then you've kind of rebranded, and it's Canada Futures now, if I'm not mistaken. So what does that entail, and how can players, coaches, officials get involved with it? What's sort of the vision for it over the next X amount of years?
Yeah, no. So thanks for it. It's this concept was essentially it's a cut and copy a little bit of the U.S. The U.S. has their development teams. We still are the National Development Team program. Futures is just kind of a tagline with regards to it, but it is a National Development Team. The premise behind this was comes along with not only long-term athlete development, but also coaches, officials. So is providing those opportunities for us to essentially reach out to provinces that have those coaches that are sitting in pathways. Maybe they're coaching provincial teams or former national team athletes. And how are we able to get them access to our national team coaches, for one? So, they had a few Zoom calls and everything else from a development standpoint, from, professional development from them, access. We got to go to Denver with the West teams. We were trying to go to Syracuse, but something happened that we couldn't get to go there. So basically what that premise is even with the coaches was to build that pathway from a grassroots coach to a provincial coach, now getting them the early access into the national teams so that they could take those experiences. And then when they go back home, is then they can share that resources with the people at home. So then now that allows us to be a little bit stronger in the deliverance that's coming back home.
So for how many teams is this? Is this male only, female? What ages? And how I guess my question is, A, what age is this for, and how are kids able to become a part of these teams?
Yeah, so there was U15, U17, U19 for both men and women, and there was East and West. So essentially, we had 12 teams this year, looking at and essentially how that program is. So no different than the rule book. It was learning experience year one, got off the ground, and how do we make it better looking at it for the future? And we took a few of the teams to tournaments. The perspective was essentially was to get them access into universities, see what it looked like, but also was number one to compete against the U.S. So moving forward for next year, exciting is that we're going to do a home and home series with the U.S. and those teams will compete. We obviously still doing some debrief and follow up from the fall and seeing how many teams it looks like for next year, but. Dustin and his group there basically you'll see this kind of roll out here soon, is putting together what that pathway looks. I think what they're going to look at is they're going to have development camps and ID camps across the country, 4 or 5 different locations for the kids to come and try out. They'll get identified there and then they'll be brought in to basically try out in a larger setting. I think at one point, I think it was U19 boys on the East. I think there was 200 kids that came to try out. So it is a bit of an ID camp. Dustin and once again, Dustin and Rachel were at Canada Games this summer as our directors and overseeing it and identified a lot of athletes. And there's a lot of tap on the shoulder for those athletes. To kind of even piece off of that is spinning back to the Olympics is we're going to find out here in around May if the Olympics are going to be in 2032 in Australia.
Yeah.
And if that's
we're going to know that before the Olympics in LA happens or not.
You're going to know
that's going to happen, but we're going to know the next 4 years before they even play a game in LA.
Yeah, and the piece to that is the reason why we kind of created these development teams is now you're going to have to create that pathway, right? Because if you look at it from 32 right now, like we're 6 years out. So that guy that's at the U19 team, he's going to be primed, just finished university, potentially playing NLL, everything else. So why not get them into the system, understand what the systems look like in Canada, expectations, and get them part of that pathway. And players are going to come and go in there, but it gives them the access and the understanding kind of what it is. And
like a data pool, right? Like you got a data pool there, and for people like I was talking to you a couple of weeks ago about this, and it absolutely blew my mind when you told me. Like I just signed up for the Lacrosse Canada newsletter, by the way, and I'm looking forward to getting my first installment there. So go to lacrossecanada.com, sign yourself up for that newsletter. Super easy. You're gonna stay in. Excuse me. Thank you very much. And then you're gonna stay up to date and in the loop with everything going on there. But, synergy across the country between all your members, Terry. We're talking Alberta lacrosse, Saskatchewan lacrosse, Manitoba lacrosse, BC lacrosse. I could not believe that you said that the governing national body for our sport does not have access to member registration from provincial. So you have no idea who is registered in BC lacrosse. You have no idea who's registered in Ontario lacrosse. Maybe you have some sort of idea, but you do not have access to their data, their information, their contact. And I know there's a privacy issue to some regard in there, but like to me on the registration form, it's an easy check of the box. Like Lacrosse Canada has your information sort of thing. Like I don't understand what or why these provincial organizations would not want Lacrosse Canada to have access to their athletes to keep them informed of things like that, what you're just talking about, and everything else that's going on with the sport in this country.
You know what? Right now, there is not a central registration, and I will say that our members, being the provinces and territory of the FNLA, we are working towards that, and they are working with us to get to that pathway. And part of that also became is that a lot of these provinces historically were on different registration systems. We're getting to the point where I think all of them but one are left that are not with RAMP that would be able to provide that. So So we're getting there. We're hoping that this can be put forward here maybe in the next few months, and then that provides us opportunity. And there's a lot more than just even that sharing of information, Jumbo. It's it will provide us some data, and to go back to the evidence base and why are players exiting at 17, like girls exiting at U17 or
Or who's watching the Minto Cup from where, or like whatever the case is, you're going to have that data to draw from and figure out how to improve things. And I can't think of a valid reason why provinces wouldn't want to share that information with the governing body of our sport. As we're here with the executive director of Terry Rayner, and we still got a few more things to cross off the list. And one thing I wanted to just bring up that I'm now drawing a blank on, so I'll come back to that. But another new thing that has just come out with, as far as Lacrosse Canada goes, national commissioners. We've never seen this before. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I've ever seen this before, but you've appointed a commissioner for kind of each senior A, senior B, junior C, junior A, right down the list. How did this idea come to be, and how did you go about making the selection process? And thirdly, what is going to be the role of these people throughout the sport?
Yeah, no, it's an exciting time, and it's an opportunity for us to kind of go back to your point of the Man Cup. They're playing different rules in Ontario compared to what BC is, and a lot of this role that we're looking at, especially in the first year, is the opportunity for those commissioners essentially to go in and look. And we'll use Senior B for example. As Senior B, there's different rules of every province. I believe BC has a roster size of 30, Ontario's is 25. So is basically what the avenue that commissioner is going to look in is they're going to be the hierarchy of looking over those leagues, and what they're going to do is they're going to analyze each one and then come back to us by the end of this year when they've gone through it all, and they're essentially going to look at it and be like, okay, every league we need to sit down. They'll have regular meetings with these leagues, and how do we get everybody on the same page, whether it's trade deadlines, how your trades work. We've seen.
Can I just lay out an example for people that might not quite understand what's happening here? Like in junior lacrosse in British Columbia, come trade deadline time, we will see a Western team that looks like they may be the front runner to go to the Minto Cup, and we'll have other junior teams sell off or trade their fourth or fifth year guys, sometimes fourth year, and at the end of the year, they go back to the team. So they make out these trades where, yeah, they acquire a player, but they only acquire them for the rest of the year. Then they go back to their original team. We've seen situations where teams are picking up, like in the WLA for the Man Cup. WLA team can pick up 3 extra players from other rosters, but you can't do that in Ontario. But they have different rules there where they can do some things that might manipulate the roster as well. So you're telling me these national commissioners are trying to get everybody onto a similar page where it's the same for everybody. The rules are the rules, and no matter what province you're living in, you got to follow them.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I'm not reinventing the wheel here, right? Like this is part and parcel the same as the Canadian Hockey League and how the commissioners oversee the highest level, and then they work with the commissioners from each of those leagues, and there just has to be some symmetry. Like we've gone so far in the opposite direction that each leagues actually control themselves in a sense, and it's like, are you truly part of the OJLL? Are you part of the OLA? Or what goes on there? So I think
even to individual teams, Terry, where so and so's looking out for number one, and who cares what happens to Orangeville or Brampton or whatever. As long as KW is doing good, then we're all good. No matter if the OJ or the OLA, like it's so narrow-minded. Teams and owners doing what's best for number one and not what's best for the league, what's best for the sport, what's best for the country, what's best for the kid. They're doing what's best for their back pocket.
Yeah, and I think the concept behind this, Jumbo, is for us is a little bit of accountability across all the leagues, so everybody is operating on the same playing field, and just making sure that people are following the rules. they're coming essentially eventually come to compete for our national championship. Part of that role to go with those commissioners and the national OICs is they will literally follow that event and go right to that national championship. So it's the same person throughout the year. So it's just having consistency amongst all provinces, but taking that right through to the national championship. So it's the same person that governs it and oversees it.
We've jumped around the board a lot, Terry, and I'm going to throw another one at you. We just talked about national commissioners. I now want to talk to you about an event that you held this past July in Oshawa and Whitby with the first ever LC coaches and officials conference. To talk to us about that. What was the thought process behind it? Why did you want to host it? How well did it go for you guys? And what's the future look like for that? Are we going to get another one?
Yeah, so once again, like great questions, and this is part of that digital strategy that Stephanie Penny and Keelan Peelon are working on with between marketing and communication. Is that request from our members of wanting that digital content and looking at what was previous on our website before we redesigned our website was this old drills that were there written down, and we spent a lot of time, and I think you were there, Lucas, when you saw us on the floor. I believe we shot over 100 videos that were on the floor of drills, and they were low-level drills for youth, but up to high level, U17 junior age players that were out there running the drills. So essentially for us is showcasing not only the talent that we had, the level of coaches that came there to present. And I'll tell you what, you guys, you already know this, that this is the best thing about lacrosse. As soon as I reached out to those coaches, they were like, yep, no problem. When do you need me there? Shooter, Josh Anderson. Yep, TR, no problem. When do you need, I'll be there.
No,
Right? Like
nobody said no. Nobody said no.
No. And it wasn't a like, hey, how much we getting paid, whatever. Yep. If we can help this great game, we're in. So we're just kind of in that final stage of all that stuff that we gathered from there, Lucas, is that there's going to be digital content. So you're gonna, a little bit of a spoiler alert. You're gonna, you'll see some, Wednesday stuff coming out on Instagram that you see drills that are going to pop up here. There's going to be digital content. They're going to be able to go and access all that. We kind of looked at, do we put this behind a paid platform wall, whatever? And it's like, we looked at it. We said our members deserve this. Like they're paying their membership fees. This is part of some of those things that they're paying for that we need to deliver that hasn't been delivered in the past. And so this is going to be a rollout, and it's not a one-stop shop. It's not. We're not going to just keep doing this. People are now asking for a women's field. People are asking for a men's field, and it's
Yeah.
this is where this technical team in our side is. This is our responsibilities across Canada now to start deliver those things. So
Sorry, Tara. I think this is the biggest thing it's for the parents, right? The parents that are coaching the young kids teams. Like I think, elite level coaches and high level coaches, they're going to know their drills. They're going to have their practice plans. But for a dad or a mom that steps into their kid's novice team or whatever and needs to kind of try and get something organized, this is going to be a great resource for them to be able to go reference and put something together that's going to teach these kids the proper way. Couple more minutes here with Terry Rayner, and you mentioned digital, you mentioned membership fees, and I think the two can kind of tie together here. And I, when I announced that you were coming on the program, a lot of the people were sliding into the DMs, were asking the question, why are my registration fees going up? Every single person across the country, registration fees are going up. I know from talking with you, but they're not going to know. So I want you to lay out where and where this extra money is going, why the increase, and then to spin it back to the digital. I know that there's an initiative for Lacrosse Canada to have their own platform and make these national championships no longer behind a paywall, where everybody can watch the Canadian Summer National Championships for free and hopefully do it going through the Lacrosse Canada website.
yeah, so it is a touchy subject with a lot of families, and when they look at it, that membership fees were double. It's hard because they don't see or necessarily have access to why are we doing that? What's going out? So to kind of start with, to touch on the digital aspect is huge, right? So making sure that we're now, whether it's coaching clinics and making sure that all the, we're going to do all these coaching clinics can be done remotely and people don't have to sit and spend maybe $290 to go to a coaching clinic. They can do it from the comfort of their home. So it's building out that content, building out all the social media strategy and getting those things out. We have all these new coaching platforms that are going to come out. We didn't even touch on, Lucas's favorite is officials. That wasn't just a coach's clinic, like it was an officials clinic. And, we had all these great leaders of officials, NLL officials, everything else. So there's an officials platform that's coming out and using Thinkific and how those officials now can kind of go through partnering with the NLL. The NLL is actually going to start providing us videos on officiating, three officiating system so that people can go and access that now and see it. So, but it doesn't just kind of stop there. Like you're building those video libraries. So all that does require money. And that's where some of that money is going to go towards. But
And you're still on par with a lot of other national sports across our country as far as registration fees go, I would say too, Terry. Like I don't think lacrosse has put themselves way out of whack as far as what they're asking for.
No, we're still below the major sports. A lot of them are high 30s in the 40 range, but just to kind of go back to, we're very close right now with regards to streaming and national broadcasting, and that's the purpose behind this is really to get more eyes in the game. We had the opportunity last year from a donor and a sponsor at the Minto Cup that the Minto Cup year before had 3,000 viewers that sat behind a paywall. Last year we found a sponsor that essentially paid for that, and we had 90,000 viewers. Not necessarily 90,000 unique viewers. Some of those came and went, but this now provides an opportunity for us. So we're going to do Man Cup, we're doing Minto Cup, President's Cup, Founders Cup, and then new women's one, the U22, Carol Patterson. Those are all going to be brought free of charge. We're just working on that final platform, whether it's across Canada TV or through a different provider. But this is the pathway that we're going, so that by kind of owning this and managing the platform, like we can ensure like consistent quality, professional broadcasting in hopes that we can actually take this now to the next level, whether it's through sponsors, donors, that how do we get this great game on in the summertime on a TSN or Sportsnet and get those kind of covered. So, but that's not where, like, really, that's not where it stops, right? Like we have to build all these national coaching and officiating development. And there's a lot of work that has to be done. And it's not just a rule book, but like, we have to look at certifying our coaches and how do we get that going through. So that money's going to there as well, as like, how do we build that next qualification for officiating and coaching and bringing that next level up. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff where that money's going. And it's not, I think sometimes people want to see as what is tangible, and it's if I'm paying $15, am I getting a Starbucks? But like, what am I actually getting for that $15? And that's where the people want to see.
Is there a breakdown of that? If people wanted to like get that in black and white, can they see that somewhere, Terry? The allocation of the funds, or is that not available?
It was presented to so all the members voted on this and approved that increase. There was something that was provided to the provinces, so the provinces are aware where that money is projected, and really as the ED, like it's going to be a scorecard of like, we've asked for this, did we deliver? And that that's kind of part of your operational plan as the executive director, ensure that you're checking those boxes and delivering what people had asked for. They're now paid for it. You better deliver it. So that's essentially, that's on us.
I know that Lacrosse Canada is hosting the Palace Sixes coming up in September, October of this year, Terry. Are there any other international events on the horizon being hosted in Canada, or are you allowed to leak that information? Is something coming out? What's kind of the next big one that's on the calendar?
No, so right now there's nothing that's out there for us to apply for. The women are attending Japan this year, our senior women. The men are in Jamaica for their qualifier, and then they play in Japan in 27. I know the bids went out for 27 for the World Championships right now. The next thing that's probably going to be coming up would be an application for the 2028 World Box, which would be 20 men's team and 10 women's team. So, if there's an organization out there that thinks they can host it and wants to host it, I would welcome them to email me at terry@lacrosse.ca, and I can kind of give them the ins and outs of what's expected. And that for us, there'd be nothing better, Lucas, for us to host that, because that's going to come right off the trails of the Olympics. And I don't know how much people have really paid attention to the format of the Olympics and when we play and what happens, but the men's game is the final game before closing ceremonies.
Really?
So it is
How cool is
predominantly the largest viewed sport, and what they say is based on winning medals.
Amazing, Terry. That is
Yeah.
amazing.
So based on winning medals, as they said, so when you talk about preparing, Jumbo, we have to prepare for that success, because people are going to want to play this game when that gets on the global stage and people are watching it. And, the proof is in watching. I think it was Rosie McLennan that was in trampoline. There was a young lady that judo, won silver last year. Judo went through the roof. So they're telling us, like, COC's like, you guys better be prepared, because people are going to want to play the sport.
I love it. Well, I tell you, I don't know if you've seen what's going on there out at Langley at the Langley Event Center, but they're building like a whole new building. They're going to have 3 dry floors, the field house, the main arena. They got all the fields there. You could do sixes, field, men, women. Might be a little idea there. Maybe talk with the township of Langley. Terry, we could literally keep talking lacrosse for the rest of this day, month, year, I'm sure. But we got to go, man. That was a long conversation. Anything else you want to check off the list that we didn't bring up that you feel like needs a little talking to?
No, you know what? I think it's a very good start, and I would welcome this more often, Jumbo. There's, people want access to us, and there's no reason for us to hide as Lacrosse Canada, and we need to be in the forefront. So any opportunity or things that need to come forward, I'm more than happy to do this again, and it's a great experience. You know what? You're my first podcast, so
hey.
it's really appreciated. And I think moving forward, lacrosse is in Canada is in good hands. We've got a brand new board, led by some amazing people. We have CEOs, we have Canadian Olympic Committee Foundation members on here. We have lawyers, we have finance people, and we're definitely pointing in the right direction. And I like what lacrosse is going to be able to do here in Canada.
Well, I think you have got it pointed in the right direction there, Terry Rayner. Listen, I'll get my sunscreen ready for Jamaica. I will get my toque and mitts ready for Oshawa, and we'll all be ready to go for some Big Sixes qualifiers here in a couple of months. And keep up the good work, man. And if you ever need anything from this podcast or yours truly, you got my number, and you know where to find me.
I appreciate it. And you can put your mitts away. And September 29th, October 4th, it's always sunny in Oshawa.
Okay. Sounds good, man. Look forward to it. Thanks for making some time here, and say hi to the gang there at Lacrosse Canada, and we'll talk soon.
Be well and be kind. Thanks, guys.
There you go. There he is, Executive Director of Lacrosse Canada, Terry Rayner. That was a long conversation. I told you having 2 guests was probably not a good idea on this particular episode here, Lucas, and I think that was a great conversation there with Terry. I think they finally got a guy at the head of the table that's got himself a vision, and it's been a long time coming for Lacrosse Canada to kind of get back out into the forefront and start leading from the front and pointing the ship in the right direction, like you said, and push this sport to the next level. And I think they got the crew there in Oshawa to do it.
They do have the crew, and it's an interesting word that you just used, vision.
All right, there you go. Let's take a break here, and let's have some halftime. And then on the other side, it's quarter 3, Lax Class Lock of the Week. It's all coming up. Stay classified.
Associated Labels and Packaging, a fun family company that offers premium quality labels and packaging with unparalleled service. With 40 years of experience, an extensive product catalog, and an ever-growing fleet of equipment, Associated Labels and Packaging is the perfect fit to take your labels and packaging to the next level.
This is Warren Hill, and you're listening to Lax Class.
Halftime is over, which means quarter three is underway. Quarter three is brought to you by Associated Labels and Packaging. AssociatedLP.com is where you want to go if you need a label or you need a package. They're a fun, family-owned company. They deliver the best in the business when it comes to labels and packaging. 45 years of experience. The product catalog is huge. The fleet of equipment is massive. And they are the perfect fit to take your label and packaging to the next level. Give them a shout. AssociatedLP.com. I don't think Sean's talking to me still after his Niners are out. Hawks are in the Super Bowl. I am the last person he wants to hear from right now. So I'm just going to leave Sean there at Associated Labels and Packaging. I'm just going to leave him alone.
But the good news for Sean, if he so chooses to, the Super Bowl is being hosted in his team's stadium, so that will be good. I just know that no Niners jerseys will be in attendance.
Lock of the week. Hey, let's lock and load it. Yeah!
I am going to be a very rich dude.
Ooh, it's a big lock, all right.
Okay, I'm just looking under the exclusives tab right now, and I do not see the exclusive parlay, courtesy of Coolbet, up on the website yet. So they've been submitted, and like I said, I mean, you can play them, don't play them, save your money. I don't know. But you can go to Coolbet.com, sign yourself up for an account, use the bonus code Lax Class. You can get free money. There's a start. Just by using the bonus code Lax Class when you sign up, you're going to get $200 free deposited into. Man, do I wish I could sign up for a new account on Coolbet right now. I could use that $200. Just let me tell you. But you can get it. Bonus code Lax Class. Find all the NLL odds up there. You're going to find NFL playoffs, Super Bowl, NHL, NBA, college sports up there, UFC, the good UFC scrap this weekend. Patty Pimblett and Justin Gaethje. Good scrap there. TGL, Tiger Golf League there. So Justin Rose get the first ever hole-in-one on the TGL Tour. They got all the sports. You can get free money, and you'll find the exclusive parlays up there, courtesy of Coolbet. Eventually. They'll be up there by the time you hear this podcast. Lucas, why don't you lay yours out first? I actually put in two. I don't know if they're going to put both up there, but we'll see what happens. What's yours?
I'm going player prop. I screwed up last week. I've screwed up the last 5 weeks, but one of these player props has to come home.
I feel like this is pretty conservative. I'm a little concerned about the last one, but we'll see.
All right. Oshawa Vegas on Vegas. Give me Jonathan Donville 3 or more points. The Halifax Thunderbirds are going to be taking on the Georgia Swarm, and I think that Randy Stotts is going to score 2 or more goals on Brett Dobson. And then the Vancouver Warriors are taking a trip to Rochester, take on the Nighthawks. Adam Charlambides is going to have 6 or more points. Donville, 3 points. Charlambides, 6 points. Randy Stotts, 2 or more goals.
I don't mind it. Charlambides is a little worried about 6 points, but fully capable of doing it. Will he do it? We'll see. I like the other two. My first parlay, little teaser action here. Georgia at Halifax, slight underdog on the money line, getting a minus 127 at plus 1.5. I think Georgia's playing some pretty good ball. I'm not sold on Halifax right now. Vancouver, long trip across the continent to Rochester, New York, especially after doing it there in Ottawa as well. It's a lot of air miles for Vancouver last couple of weeks. But again, small underdog on the money line, getting him at minus 141 at plus 1.5. Then I can't even believe this. Buffalo at 3-3. Colorado at what? 4-2, 5-2. What are they, Lucas? The Mammoth are an underdog at home on the money line. Again, gonna take the buffer here at plus 1.5 at minus 123. 3 plus 1.5ers. Georgia, Vancouver, Colorado. All plus 1.5 here. You're probably coming in around plus 550 on this once Coolbet gets his hands on it. Stay tuned for that. And then the other one I just kind of threw out there to Greggy. 7 games on the slate here for week 10. I have no idea what this will pay. 2 or more games to go to overtime in week 10.
If you had to guess, or if you had to take
I'm so bad at
estimate, which games do you think could be going to overtime?
Well, this is why I picked this. I think aside from Saskatchewan, Calgary, I think all of them could go to overtime.
Okay.
So if you got to just give me 2 out of 6, I like my chances. This is a 1-goal league. I think we see a couple overtime games. I think we could see more, but I want to play it. 2 overtime games. Find those up on Coolbet.com. Hit the exclusive tab. Lacrosse Classified parlays will be there. And don't forget to take advantage of that bonus code and get your free money. Let's take a quick break here, Lucas. And on the other side, quarter 4. And who you got?
This is Chase Fraser, and you're listening to Lax Class. And now it's time for Who You Got.
It's time once again to play your favorite podcast game. Who you got?
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 Unka hot kweni.
Who you got?
Who you got?
You dropped down too low that time. Like last week,
I
I
was
thought
too
you were a
high,
little bit high.
then I dropped too low.
Like you had the first one, you had it, and then the second, like I don't know what just happened. It's like you went through puberty or something.
Oh, okay. Good to know that the
like,
growth spurt came while recording.
And that sounded like you just went reverse puberty there for some reason. Okay, let's get into it here. Week 9 winner. Familiar voice to a lot of NLL fans, I will say. A repeat winner. I can't remember exactly when he won his first week, but I don't think it was last year. I don't think it was the year before. It might have been year number 1. Steve Berm Daddy Bermal. Color analyst for the Buffalo Bandits went 4 for 4, along with Ann's Bonanz and Emily there, who all went 4 for 4. And not only did they go 4 for 4, because a lot of people went 4 for 4, and that's a lot of 4 for 4s. But all 3 of those folks nailed the tiebreaker of 26, which is impressive. So it did come down to the Wheel of Fortune, and the Wheel of Fortune favored Steve Bermal from Buffalo. So he got us who he got in there. He's got a prize pack courtesy of Coolbet coming his way. And now we turn our attention to week number 10. And Lucas, let's have a little looky-loo here at the standings, shall we? We got to do that. Dave Pettin still sitting on top. I think that's 3rd or 4th week in a row. DJ moving up a spot into 2nd. There's Wayne. There's my boy Luela sitting in 4th. Nicely done there. Dan Shetner, who's always in the mix, rounding out the top 5. Down we go. I am 81st overall, Lucas, a 74th place finish. I missed my 9 game last week. Where are you?
Not too far below you. In the top 100, sitting at 99th overall with 181 points. Wizard of Gauze and Vince is at 103rd, 180 points, and we don't need to talk about Funky. She had such a bad week, Jake, that she told me that she's giving up on who you got mid-season.
No,
I said,
she is
ain't
not.
No way in hell is that happening.
You cannot take the coward's way out, Funky.
That
I
is
know
what
some other people have done that.
I said to her verbatim, I said this to her, Jake. Every week, Jake says on the podcast, it's a marathon, not a sprint, Mom. Get your ass into gear and make your picks. I said that to her, and she said, fine, I'll make them.
Okay. I mean, if Greggy is hanging in there, then Funky's got to hang in there, because Pat Gregoire right now dropped 37 spots, sitting down there almost in 150th. I don't know what's going on with Greggy and his picks this year, but man, struggle is real. But he's got a chance to pull back up, and so does everybody else. Okay, we got 7 games to pick. I'm back ahead where I belong. Get those taste buds warmed up for those chicken wings, Lucas, because I am hosting week number 10. We got 7 games. Let's hit it. Friday night, Saskatchewan at Calgary. Who you got?
I'm going to take the Rush. They won round 1 of Battle of the Prairies. I think they can do it again. Saskatchewan for a 9.
6-1 Rush, 1-5 Roughnecks. Give me the Rush for a 10. Home and home, back half. Seals won the first one in Philly. Now Philly goes to San Diego. 1-5 Wings, 3-3 Seals. Friday night from Pechanga. Who you got?
I'll take the Seals. You just said it. They won last week in Philly. I think they can do it again. Sweep the season series. Seals 5.
It's my 9 pick for San Diego. I think they're heating up. Georgia, Halifax, kickoff Saturday night action. It is a 3 o'clock Pacific time start here on Saturday. Swarm and Thunderbirds. Who you got?
Swarm are playing a really good defense. Halifax's offense seems to be stagnant or almost disappearing like. Swarm for a 6.
I'm taking Georgia for a 6 as well. This is going to be a tough game, but I got to go. I'm losing faith in Halifax, quite frankly. Georgia for a 6. First of a home and home here for Rochester and Vancouver. First in Rochester, next in Vancouver. Warriors back-to-back long road trips here. 4-2 against 4-2. Warriors, Nighthawks. Who you got?
I'm going to go goalie matchup for this one. Who do I think is better? Christian Del Bianco, Warriors 8.
Oh, I like your strategy. I like your thinking here on this. Not as confident in my confident number, but I am going to take Vancouver, but only for a 4. Ottawa visits Toronto. Both teams coming off a loss. 4-4 Black Bears, 3-3 Toronto Rock. Lucas, who you got?
Goalie matchup, Higgins over Holochuk, Ottawa 10.
Holy cow. I'm going to take Toronto in this spot, and I'm going to take them for an 8. Buffalo, Colorado. A rematch of the finals from, 2023, 2024. Bandits and Mammoth, who you got?
2022 and 2023, Jake, for finals rematch.
Thank you very much.
Give me Buffalo. I still think Vino is better over Dylan Ward. Bandits 7.
Okay, you're just straight up goalie matchups here. I like the Mammoth in this spot right here. I mean, I'm coming off my Buffalo every week here. They're 3-3. I know they're getting Spanger and Belter back here. Not sure it's going to not sure it's going to Not sure it's going to matter against the Mammoth. Give me Colorado for a 7. Final game. Oshawa in Vegas. Wayne Gretzky night. Firewolves, Desert Dogs. Who you got?
Goalie matchup once again. I still think Jameson's better than Landon Kells. Oshawa, it's going to happen at some point. Firewolves 4.
Give me the Dogs, and give me the Dogs for a 5. That is who you got for Week 10. Make your picks, highlight the team, confidence number beside, put in your tiebreaker, and then save and apply. Good luck, everybody. Enjoy all the games this weekend. Thanks for listening to this week of Lacrosse Classified. Thank you to our sponsors, Associated Labels and Packaging, RyCor Construction, Edge Dynamics, the Goalie Factory, Coolbet Canada, and don't forget, grand champion of Who You Got gets the handcrafted hickory wooden lacrosse stick courtesy of Mohawk Lacrosse. If you want one now, go to mohawk.net and get one. I want to thank Terry Rayner for coming on the program, and I want to thank you, the classmates, each and every one of you, for listening to this week's show, and we'll be back for Lax Class 376 a week from now. But now we got to get out of here. For Lucas Arger, I've been Jake Elliott, and for the fastest game on 2 feet, and for the Crater, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay classified.